Lights, camera, debate, ignite, passion strong under the spotlight. Tune in for the clash, tune in for the spark. The critic and the cynic light up the dark.
Welcome back to The Critic and the Cynic. Next, we're going to be taking a look at Deck the Walls. Now, I remember watching snippets of this movie while we were watching whatever else.
All right, who is that guy? He looks very familiar.
He looks a little bit familiar, but she's Ashley Greene. I know her.
Well, yeah, she's in the Twilight movies.
She's in Twilight, yeah. She's a Twilight person. And he is Wes Brown.
Well, the name does not...
It doesn't sound familiar at all?
Nope.
Maybe he just has one of those faces.
Perhaps.
One of those faces. Okay, so we have Deck the Walls. This has a tagline of Build It Forward to Love.
What the heck is with these taglines? They're not
Usually
even clever.
Well, sometimes they're clever. Well, they're in a punny, play on words type of way. This is not that.
Well, it's home renovations. You can tell from the poster.
It's home renovations, but they're like living together or something.
Well, you know that because
of the trailer.
We saw a sneak peek during one of our other Hallmark
That's right.
movies.
So let's go ahead and read the Rose, a Chicago-based interior designer, returns to her Ohio hometown to save her brother's Christmas charity house flip. What another house flip? We gotta have these house flips.
Oh, fantastic. And in Ohio, no less.
In Ohio, yeah. Only to face her past, rekindle an old rivalry with her brother's best friend, and unexpectedly find love and purpose.
Oh, good.
So, her brother's best friend that she falls in love with.
Must be Mr. Common Face here.
I mean, isn't there a bro? There's a bro code. There's a bro code.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we don't care about that.
I bet they care about it. I don't know how I feel about this. We've seen stuff with house flipping. We've seen stuff with
to love
interior designers,
rivals.
I mean, and we saw the rivals. We've seen all three
Such
bits.
A popular thing. Let's just hate each other and then just magically one day, oh, never mind. I actually like you.
Opposites attract. Yeah, and so we go back to all these movies that we've seen. Interior designer was the one with.
The one we really like, the Tell Me Santa. She was a designer house.
Tell Me Santa, right, with Nick A, Nick B, Nick C. Mm-hmm. And
then the house flip was also that Irish one.
The house flip was
awful.
The house flip was the Irish movie. And then, obviously, the rival things, like in everything, so you can't really pick them out.
About half of them. About half of them.
Yeah, 50%
the other half, they're already together and they have to face some obstacle together.
Yeah.
Or a first date, and that turns into lifetime love.
And then I would say a quarter of the movies, they all start dating through a dating app. That's like really popular on Hallmark for some reason. It shows up in like every 2-3 movies.
And a couple of them was, we used to date, but we don't anymore, but we're going to meet again and fall in love again.
Oops. Netflix did that.
Well, yeah, Netflix and Hallmark.
Yeah, so Netflix is going down the Hallmark train.
2 hours later.
All right, so what did we think about this one?
I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either.
It was definitely in the ballpark of okay. This is one of those times that Hallmark likes to reuse and recycle old plots. In this case, we're talking about flipping a house or making it look better, which we've seen a couple times before in this entire ordeal. We saw it in the Irish film, and we also saw it in Santa Tell Me. And between those two, I'd say that this film was much more closely resembled Santa Tell Me. But I will say, when it comes down to house renovations, I feel like it is the most accurate, or the most believable, at least, in terms of what's going on. Whatever the Irish movie was, you just had that one little girl in the middle of all of Ireland that's doing all of this renovation herself, and it just wasn't very believable. Plus, you never really saw any of it. And Santa Tell Me, it was more for a TV show than anything, which was kind of believable, but it wasn't really focusing on that all that much. But for Deck the Walls, I feel like there was a good balance here. There was a number of people that was working on this renovation. You had the two guys, one of which is her brother, the other is her lover.
Well, her brother's best friend.
Her brother's best friend. And then she is more of an interior designer, so she's helped making it look a certain way.
Well, and I would say out of the three, I mean, this one had the most Christmas spirit because it was a charity thing where they were renovating this house to give it to a family that desperately needed an upgrade.
Yeah, and they actually focused on, just a little bit, they focused on this other family that they're doing it for. And a lot of times, I wouldn't expect that out of Hallmark. I'd be like, oh yeah, there's just this family that we're doing it for, and you might see a glimpse of them at the end when the house is done. But in this one, it's like here and there throughout the movie, you actually got to see this family that they're doing it for, which is cool. I feel like it was a lot more balanced, a lot more focus was put on each independent character, and because of that, you could actually care a little bit more for each person in this one.
And this would be the one, I don't know if we've seen it before, but there was actually two love stories in this one.
There's definitely two love stories. The main one was Ashley Greene's character and the brother's best friend, which it was neither here nor there for me. It was fine. I didn't really believe it all that much, or I just wasn't that engaged with it. They had more of a friendship thing going for me. However, the other one was her brother and
Childhood bully.
his childhood bully, which turns out to be a gay love story, which I really liked that one. I wished that there was a little bit more focus on it, actually, because they had chemistry.
They did have chemistry.
And it was a little bit more engaging than I would say the stuff with Ashley Greene was.
Yeah, and they were both coming from, like, the same starting point, rivals to, like, dating.
Rivals to dating, and that's Hallmark. That's Hallmark for you.
Well, it's 50% of them, yeah.
Yeah,
I like that storyline.
too, because opposites attract and stuff.
Well, I mean, it's entertaining to watch, I guess.
But it does, and because it also allows the characters to technically grow, and you get to see that contrast from person that you hate to person that you could potentially love. And we prefer to see this shift in character dynamics than to always have them be in love in the first place and not really see it. I mean, you're talking about Hallmark, you're talking about Christmas cards that make you feel good, right? So they're supposed to go from feeling bad to feeling good, so there's that contrast. However, I will say I'm not a huge fan of just home renovations for a movie like this. I don't care that much about home renovation. I said it before, I don't think home renovation shouts Christmas.
Well, I mean, at least they tried to tie it in with Christmas because the whole goal was to get this family into their new home by Christmas. So, I mean, at least they tried with this one. Otherwise, the other two, it had nothing to do with the holiday.
Yeah, there was a slight inkling of more Christmas time going on in this one. But at the end of the day, you didn't use your crap button.
No, this was arguably better than a 90s Christmas or whatever the heck that one was called.
I don't know. I disagree with your assessment there just because I like time travel. And no, it's not very Christmassy in general.
I'm fine with time travel, but it has to be done in a way that is engaging to me, and that one was not.
To me, it doesn't have to be done in that way because I'm just automatically engaged with time travel. So that's why I think in the general I like a 90s Christmas or whatever it was called. I think it was called a 90s Christmas more than Deck the Walls. But there's also stuff in this that I prefer over a 90s Christmas, like the fact that it is slightly more based on Christmas and the chemistry angle for the gay guys, at least. So, what would you rate it?
I'd still say around 50 because I'm probably never going to think about it again, but it was obviously better, in my opinion, than the other one.
I'm having a hard time finding a good rating for this one. I think I would probably say 60. I said 65 for a 90s Christmas. Deck the Walls, I'll say 60. It's very close, I think, in certain ways. I think in both cases, I think that they have positives and negatives that I prefer over the other, but as a whole, I do prefer A 90s Christmas over Deck the Walls, which is why there's a 5% difference for me. So there you have it. So that was Deck the Walls.